atentos, porque pronto ya van a empezar a salir todos los giveaways, los regalos que vamos a tener para los involucrados. Muchas gracias, Miguel. Muy buenas, Gema. Saludos desde el Autódromo Hermanos Rodríguez. Les recuerdo que a las 3 de la tarde hoy vamos a tener la sesión que no pudimos tener ayer de fábrica, entonces la vamos a tener el día de hoy a las 3 de la tarde. Estén todos preparados. Buenas tardes, Lorena. Vamos a comenzar en 2 minutos. A las 13:03 comenzaremos. Todos preparados y listos. Saludos desde Mérida. Hola, Mérida. Sí, efectivamente va a haber unos giveaways. Ah, eso sí, quién sabe. Yo eso sí no sé. Pero el centro de comando seguramente ahorita contestará. Si pueden mandar el link para que todo el mundo se inscriba a las 3. 13:02, segunda llamada. Segunda. Es la hora de la comida. Veo que no están llegando todos los convidados, pero ahorita vienen. Ya acaban de poner ahí el link para que se metan ustedes a esta presentación de fábrica. Y pues siendo las 13:03, sean todos muy bienvenidos a esta sesión del encuentro creativo. Como siempre, eso que están preguntando, se podrán revivir los videos. Por supuesto, ustedes los podrán ver a través del canal de YouTube en el futuro cercano. Ya vamos a poder tener la memoria de este encuentro creativo. Por lo pronto, si eso les parece bien, uno de nuestros asociados, la Sociedad Dante Alighieri, nos va a dar unas palabras.
Ciao e benvenuto alla Sociedad Dante Alighieri de la Ciudad de México. ¿Estás pensando ir a estudiar a Italia? Nosotros te ayudamos a realizar tu sueño. Descubre cómo obtener el nivel requerido para la admisión en las universidades italianas. Estudia y certifícate con nosotros. Tenemos cursos de todos los niveles, desde el más básico hasta el más avanzado. Y además podrás escoger entre una amplia variedad de horarios y entre la modalidad en línea y presencial. Hoy en día, el conocimiento de más de un idioma extranjero es fundamental para ser competitivo en el mercado laboral. Y poder demostrar tu nivel de conocimiento con una certificación puede marcar la diferencia entre tu perfil y el de otro candidato. Ven a conocer el PLIDA, la certificación de idioma italiano reconocida internacionalmente y ante la SEP. Y comprueba tu nivel de italiano para acceder a las universidades de tu interés. Prepárate con la institución de la enseñanza del italiano más antigua en México y obtén las herramientas para construir tu futuro. Italia y la Sociedad Dante Alighieri te esperan. Arrivederci.
Pues este evento solo es posible gracias a la generosidad de la Embajada de Italia y de la Cámara de Comercio Italiana en México, por lo cual tendremos unas palabras del excelentísimo señor embajador de Italia, Luigi De Chiara, en nuestro país, del presidente de la Cámara de Comercio Italiana en México, Lorenzo Vianello, y de Fariba Gallardo, directora de la Cámara de Comercio Italiana. Ellos nos van a recibir y gracias a ellos y a todo el equipo que hace posible estas sesiones es que podemos tener este intercambio cultural. Corre video.
Soy Luigi De Chiara, embajador de Italia en México. Soy muy feliz de presentar Encuentro Creativo con la presentación de la oferta formativa de estas instituciones académicas en el campo de las industrias creativas italianas. Queremos ofrecer a todos los mexicanos no solo la posibilidad de mejorarse de un punto de vista técnico, sino también de saber dónde van las tendencias, cómo se ha construido el éxito del Made in Italy.
En la Cámara de Comercio Italiana en México estamos honrados de poder promover la oferta académica italiana entre los estudiantes mexicanos. Durante la primera edición, en las 2 semanas del evento, tuvimos más de 2.000 alumnos participantes y logramos un alcance en redes sociales de más de 1 millón de personas. Este proyecto nos brinda la oportunidad de acercar México a Italia, dos naciones amigas y que tienen muchísimo que ofrecer en materia de creatividad y diseño. Disfruten de todas las actividades que hemos planeado en coordinación con las mejores universidades de diseño que hay en Italia y junto con las marcas que nos apoyan en esta iniciativa.
Bienvenidos a esta segunda edición de Encuentro Creativo, que te permitirá conocer más acerca de la oferta académica que la capital de la moda y el diseño ofrece, Italia. Por favor, síguenos a lo largo de las conferencias de Encuentro Creativo. Muchísimas gracias y bienvenido.
Pues es un gusto. Hoy vamos a estar hablando de un tema muy interesante que es el ABC del diseño de coches italiano. Es un viaje que nos va a mostrar todos los diferentes pasos necesarios para diseñar un coche, empezando por marketing, lluvia de ideas, boceto, modelo digital y físico hasta la preproducción, tomando en cuenta cómo el proceso se ha desarrollado a lo largo de los años para ser eficaz en el tiempo y sostenible. Probablemente uno de los retos de diseño más grandes que hay en el mundo contemporáneo es precisamente el diseño de coches. Y para ello nos va a estar hablando Claudio Fassini, profesor de Car Design en la Escuela Politécnica de Design. Diseñador italiano con amplia experiencia internacional en el diseño, ha conseguido un máster en Design de Transporte en el Royal College of Art de Londres y ha colaborado en empresas de todo el mundo como Alfa Romeo, Philips, Fiat, McLaren, Porsche, Whirlpool, Pininfarina, y actualmente es diseñador independiente en Milán. Desde hace 15 años da clases en la Escuela Politécnica de Design en diferentes cursos de diseño. Recibámoslo con un fuerte aplauso. Muchísimas gracias, Claudio Fassini. Y you have the microphone. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the invitation to this activity, this seminar. I think we can start immediately to talk about the topics of the ABC of car design, and I will start the presentation, if it's fine for you. So, as mentioned, I teach in a design school in Milan, the Scuola Politecnica di Design, since 15 years. Okay, so on this presentation, it will be a journey through the main steps to arrive to the design of a car, mainly looking from the point of view of the designer. So consider like more or less when you design a car, more or less it will take around 5 years. In some cases it could take 3 years, in some cases it can take 5. One moment in the around the latest 90s, some company in Japan, they will try to go down to 1 year for the complete process. But then they arrive at the point like no one is going to change a car every year. So they slow down in that. And basically, what's happened is like in the beginning you have you get input, and then you start to there is a first research. Let's say more or less after 1 year of work, you arrive to have what is the idea, the shape of the model you want to arrive, and then after, between 4 and 3 years, you start to make models. You arrive to the select choice. You freeze your idea more or less when you get 2 years and a half, and then you move on until you arrive to pre-production, production, and so on. Consider like that in this time, the outside, the interior design, the exterior design of the car, they can go more or less together. Then it depends if the car is designed before from outside. I don't know, for example, sports car or wherever, or the car is designed from considering more the users. So that means maybe first you design the interior and then you make the exterior. So when you start to design a car, you have to consider a couple of things. Like first of all, the category. So it could be like MPV, that's 1 box, 2 box, and then you get here jungle of definition like 2 box and a half, 3 box, station wagon, spider, coupe, and cabriolet. In some cases, it's difficult from outside to understand the difference between spider and cabriolet. Spider is a car designed to be open. Cabriolet is a car that it was designed to be closed and then also it can be open. Then there are car segments, and car segments are those. So you get starting from the small one, that is the city car, where you get the Fiat Panda 500, Smart 42, and then you move on with bigger and bigger. Let's say there is no a fixed rules, like to say why one car is it's in one segment on the other. Let's say most of the case is depending from the size. There are some companies that get focused only in some segment, and in many cases now one of the problem is for company like they have maybe different brands, and that they must be very careful not to make competition between them in the same different brand of the same company, make competition on the same segment. Then a little bit of car glossary about to know the each part. Of course, we are not going to see all of them, but you should know that each part of a car, and this is important for car designer, has a name. In a way, when you will talk to someone, if you say the shoulder, that means it's this part. If you say the DLO, daylight horizon, is the line of the glass. If you're talking about pillars, we don't say like front pillar, middle pillar, rear pillar. It's like A pillar, B pillar, C pillar, D pillar, in case you get a station wagon. Same is happen for the interior. You get terminology in a way everyone is talking about the same things when you make meeting, especially now when you get design centers spread all over the world, and you must be very clear when you talk. So let's get started. Basically, designers in the design center, they get input mainly, let's say, from two different areas. One is from the technical department, and then from the marketing. In here, if you see the image of the technical department, you see something very complicated. This type of drawing never arrived in the beginning of the design center. From the technical department, first of all, you get the layout, because this one, it could be like the jungle of layout you can have now. You can have like 2-seater, 4-seater, 5-seater, 7-seater. You can get 1 row seat, 2 row seat, and then you can be sitting like sport car, so I think it's lower. You can be sit like compact car, you can be sit like MPV. So that's something, kind of information that you get. Then also you get information immediately about for example, where is the engine, if you have an engine in the back, engine in the front, if you have transmission, if you have a 4-wheel drive, because this information will affect your design. Here you see 5 examples, but there can be many of them. So when a designer starts, basically in the beginning you get this type of information. Let's say in red, they are the most important points. That they are the wheels, of course. You get this data from the technical department and you cannot change. You cannot say, well, maybe I can make my wheel a little bit more backward or front. It doesn't work, because there is already a chassis ready. There's already definition, everything like suspension or whatever, then you cannot change it. In fact, talking about suspension, in here, you get, this is one of the biggest limitations for the bonnet, is the top of the suspension. If you If you open your bonnet of the car in the front, you see there are normally two big screws, and this one is the top air suspension. So usually is the highest part you get in the bonnet. And this one giving you limitation about how to design the front of the car. Then another important limitation is the cooler in the front. If you get a combustion engine car, if you get an electric car, maybe you don't get this limitation. And then another important limitation in most of the cars is the windshield. You cannot move the windshield. In many cases, they give you the right position because it's important for the aerodynamic and also for the ventilation inside the car. And then something else important is the position of the door. Because if you see, for example, in here, this one is the limit of the door in the front, because if the foot is going too much in this direction, it's becoming very uncomfortable to get out. So you must think about that. Then you get input from marketing. So the big challenge at the moment. You can have electric car, you can have combustion engine car. You know, in Europe, in few years they will stop to sell the combustion engine car and will get only electric car. What does it mean for designers? It means like the challenge is like to design electric vehicle that it looks like electric vehicle. In some cases, you see electric vehicle that it looks exactly like combustion engine vehicle. So why not thinking like to make an electric vehicle that it doesn't look poor, but then he has his own personality. Then when you sketch in the electric vehicle, you get less limitation in terms of ventilation, cooling, and so on. Then you get from the department some information about which one will be our future portfolio. They will, you will get some input about what you want to do, like SUV, like saloon, or whatever. Then this one is the process for developing the process for the designers when you develop the design of the car styling. So in this case, we just take an example of Alfa Romeo because it's very close to us and we know it very well. So first of all, you have to consider the value of the brand. So if you think an Alfa Romeo, you think something completely different from another brand. So for example, you consider another brand like it could be Renault or whatever. You don't think the same type of value coming from Alfa Romeo, for example. So Alfa Romeo, you get this idea of sporty but not extreme. So after that, you have to consider the value of the range of products. So that means which product we have now on the market and what do they, and which part of the market we're going to cover. We're going to cover only maybe like Alfa Romeo is doing at the moment, is going in the direction of SUV, or is something a bit more wide. And you have to consider for each product which message is given out. Then this one is, let's say, is the past, because in car design today is the past. This one is the future. So you have to think what will be, which one will be the future scenario. I will talk in a minute. In crossing this value, the value of what is the value of the product today and what is the future scenario, you will get a definition of the new product value. So which one will be the message coming from our new product? When you get that, so you more or less, in this case, basically you find keywords. Keywords, you want to have something dynamic, something that will express, I don't know, dynamism or whatever, I don't know. So in this case, then you have to consider like the family feeling. Family feeling means if you look a car on the street, you even without looking the badge, you say, oh, that's an Alfa Romeo, oh, that's a Ferrari, that's a Fiat. And then you need to define the language code. So language code, it means, for example, in 5 years time, because you always have to think 5 years time, there will be we will be like, I don't know, like car models with soft line, with pinch on the bonnet, or with tension of the surface or whatever. So something like what it will be, the trends, the taste of the people in 5 years time. It's not easy to understand, but you can, if you make something nice, you can define that, you can drive this. So the future scenario, for example, for the future scenario, you consider the persona. So persona means who is going to be the user of our car? Is going to be someone using the car for weekend only to go skiing, snowboard, or wherever, or is going to use the car every day as a commuting to go to work, to home, and vice versa. You define the possible scenario that is also part of those. So the use of the car, the persona also is like it's going to be, our target is between like 35 and 46 or something younger. It's going to be first car or second car. Then you define the personality chart. Personality could be like also, for example, we're talking Alfa Romeo, so personality can be something like talking about Italian design, talking about Milano. And then you make mood board like style inspiration, like we say before. You want to have something soft with some dynamism, with some tension inside. Then this one now, let's going to see what is called the analysis of the language, or still aiming for Alfa Romeo, for a successful clinic test. What is a clinic test? When the car is, let's say you get your working prototype, or maybe even earlier, like you have a full size model of this car, but it's better if it's a working prototype. You remove all the badge, you remove everything it could suggest which car is it. Then you invite traditional customer of that brand. You invite people that never bought before that type of brand. You buy people that potentially can become customer. You show them this car. First of all, you ask them, do you like, you don't like it? You think it's too extreme, you think it's too old. And then at the end, you make the question like, which brand do you think is it? And this one is important because everyone is able to recognize like Alfa Romeo because it's a bag, but Alfa Romeo has some languages to respect. For example, in here, just an highlight, just few small things. That's designer they consider. If you develop the car, for example, this one is what is on the market now from Alfa Romeo, because the Tonale is not basically not on the market yet. So let's say, or what it was just recently on the market. You get Mito, Giulietta, Giulia, Stelvio. First of all, designer, one thing that is very important in design is the highlight. What is the highlight? It's the reflection of the light on the surface. And how the light is running on the surface, we define the shape of the car. You have car, for example, that is very edgy. So in this case, it's easy to understand the shape. For example, if you think a car like Porsche, for example, Porsche doesn't have any edge anywhere. It's just round shape. So what will remain in your mind is the reflection on the light on the surface. So let's say that somehow that light design car. In fact, it was a Japanese designer called Isao Zoe that he said that, and then he gets some criticizing that. He said that, for example, Giugiaro designed the same car for Japan in Japan. He was doing something different because the light in Japan is different. It's always foggy, more or less, than the light you get in South Europe, like we are. In here we get strong light, so you get strong reflection. In other place you get more foggy light, so you don't get such a strong reflection. But for example, when this red is the Alfa Romeo red, especially the one that you see from the Giulia, is a bit dark. And when it was in UK, I did my model with the same color, and it didn't work because the light was different. This color, it was 12 in Italy. So if you look, for example, the Mito, you see the highlight, you see in here, is quite defined. Then more you move down, more the highlight is becoming soft and more. So you get more geometric and then soft and more highlight. So that means if you design the, let's say, the Stelvio for 2022, 2025, whatever it is, maybe you have to carry on working in this direction or without copying that, because otherwise it's old. You have to consider this change and then move from that. Then something else here, the key lines. So in here, on the Mito, the key lines, they were basically where you see really strong change of surfaces. This was around wheels and the Brancardo, this part. In here, it was more, they start to become with more tension, also because the car was bigger in there. And then little by little, you get the Giulia, you get this feature coming from the intake, and in the Stelvio, you remain that one without intake. So in a way, you get some kind of family thing, so progression. Then in here, for example, the relation between the base of the A-pillar, where the windshield, where you get what is called fish tank, between this one and the bonnet, you see the Stelvio is a bit out because it's a little bit a four-wheel drive, but you can consider that. You see that more the time is passing, more the bonnet is longer. Why? Because a longer bonnet gives you idea of power. Because in the past, they used to make a powerful engine, was a big engine. Now you can make an engine very powerful, very small, but the language remain. In fact, you see, if, for example, you see, if you take reference of the end of the front wing here, and you see where the bonnet is ending, then on this one is becoming smaller, Giulia is going behind, and on the Stelvio is going even far from there. Then we get the proportion between volumes. So again, here, bonnet, smaller, bigger, bigger, and the greenhouse is going backwards, backwards, backwards. Then proportion of the glass between the glass and the body. More the body is higher, less impression of stability you have, because it looks like the center of gravity is higher. So if you make your body with lower DLO line, the line of the glass, it will look like your car will be like pushed down. And then in here, again, the apex, that is the maximum edge of your roof, greenhouse, is moving backwards, backwards, backwards. So why? Because traditionally Alfa Romeo was a rear wheel drive. So if you have a rear wheel drive, you give an idea that the weights on the back, it looks like you get more power. And then traditionally you get a triangular shape to give an idea like better for aerodynamics, kind of what Red Bull is used to do to make till last year. You consider these things, and then finally, the designer will start to sketch. Sketch, it can be done most of the time on paper. So normally you work on A3 paper because it's better. You see better your details, and then also when you make presentation, you place this sketch on the wall, and then it will be better than rather than having a small one. Big one is too big. So here is work more. Mainly we work with the blue pencil because it's the one giving the best result. You start to get proportion, and you start to work with the side view first. If your car get a nice proportion side view, it will probably work well also when you will start to look from the front or from the back in perspective. Why? Because each line, you need to have a reason to be there. And each line, you need to talk with the line of the rest of the car. So, and something like this, it can be done only on side view. And then you can get sketch more, we call it quick and dirty, or you can start to get sketch more defined. In here, you highlight the empty area, the area full, and then you'll make a little bit of reflection. Or you can make digital sketch. In this case, it's a Cintiq. In this case, it's a 27 HD. So you get a 27 screen. It's quite big. The feeling is like to sketch on paper. The only big difference is that in here you can make mistake, you can come back. So in some cases, an advantage, in some cases, it's disadvantage. Because if you know you can make mistake, you probably make mistake. If you know you cannot make mistake, you don't make mistake, you go faster. It's a philosophy. I like to work in both ways. Then, when you are still on the early stage, you can already start to check the aerodynamics with the CFD. This one you see in red is the Y0. The Y0 basically is the if you like, if you cut your car in the middle. So just in the early stage, just using the Y0, and you see here, you can start to understand more or less if what you have designed, it works or it not works. And also, if you have intakes or in front or here in just on the base of the windshield, if you will get the right pressure to take air in there. So in here, normally people thinking the air is coming up, but in here, the all you see normally in your car between the windshield and the bonnet, the air is going in because you see the curves of the pressure is going in, so you get deep pressure. Then you start to go to perspective sketch. So you start to understand the volume, the proportion. You can get something more emotional, like on paper. You can get something more defined. What is very important are these sections, because section will tell you exactly what will be the shape of your car. And this is important because you don't know who is looking your sketch inside the design center. Designers, probably they will understand it. Maybe someone else, maybe not so used to see designer, prefer to see something like this where they see the reflection and they start to understand more the shape. Then here are the other different way to make sketch perspective. And then you move from line to emotion. This one is the sketch of the Giulia. This sketch has been used for this rendering. This one is a rendering done with Photoshop. You see the result is totally different. So designer will probably understand that if you want to show to possible customer, you have to show something like this because you must sell the emotion, because keep in mind the design is emotion. In this case, the style is emotion. So it's okay, you are considered like the engine, big engine, wherever, but then what will move in is the emotion you get when you see the model. I mean, long time ago, not so long, in US, it's to say like exterior of the car is what you call you inside the dealer. The interior of the car is the one you make by the car. One details in car design, car business, the car is always fronting, moving in this direction, never in the other direction, always in there because it's an international rule. Then here is like some other rendering. Again, this one is the same. This one is a quick and dirty with a little bit of coloring here. This one with a little bit more color. It's exactly from this sketch you get this rendering. It's a Photoshop rendering. Then here, let's say a bit more fast rendering from Skoda, something like probably take no more than 20 minutes each for adding color. Here it was the one with final rendering. It was on the cover of a magazine of the Tonale. You see like reflection in here helps you to read shape. So then after all this phase, you get the selection of the concept. So that means you stick all your drawing on the wall. In some case, you are in the room presenting. In some case, you're not in the room. And when you come back, it's the drawing are full of stickers. The one with more stickers, the one move on. Then we move from 2D to 3D drawing. This one is called piano di forma. It was a traditional old way to make drawing in Italy, a little bit in France. So basically, this one is coming. I don't know if you've ever seen, for example, the people like some people make models of ship, and you see it's made with all these sections. This is the one. So in here you cut one section, and then in there you find the other section in there. I had to do that some time ago. We are not using this one anymore, but then from there in the past, they used to make body only with wire, just to understand the volumes. Then you could make what is called mascherone. So it means this one made in wood. And then you could have that. So this one is battilastra. They were the people, artisan, able to do that. So with a small hammer, they were doing little bit of tick, tick, tick like this, creating shape of car like this. This one is from the 60s. And it's not coming from winning machine or whatever. It's done everything by hand. So from 2D drawing to 3D drawing more in depth. So basically, what you have seen before as a piano di forma, it became now what is a 3D model. It's much easier because before in here you used to make 2 view and check the third one. In here you make 2 view and the third one is coming automatic. And then you can also rotate. And then also you can transfer this data to someone else. Then you have to consider the ergonomy. So in this case, ergonomy is becoming a little bit more important. It's very important. So the ergonomy is like you see the position of the engine, everything, but especially the people. If this one, it will fit inside. And then in here you get, for example, one coming from Dreyfus, the comfort position. So this one, for example, is the tallest man of the media. This one is, she's the smallest woman of the media. And basically, both of them just moving the seat front and backward, they must be able to see display, to see outside. And you get an angle here of 15 degrees. That is the minimum angle you have to see to check the road, to make sure you can see obstacle in front of you. Then, in this case also, there is a big challenge now. It's HMI, human-machine interaction. Basically, you decide where are the display and how do they work. For example, just to mention in Mexico, in the engineer for the engineer center, the designers and engineers, they work on the instrument panel of the 2022 Ford Expedition and the Ford F-150 Lightning. Then you go to 3D modeling. Before 3D modeling, you go to tape drawing. So tape is done with tape, basically. The special tape, very flexible. You use on a big paper, Maller paper, and this is the first time you see your car full size. Is done like this because these drawings are not emotional. Really, you see what will be the proportion, because one thing is to see your sketch like this. One thing is to see 5 meter, 4 meter cards. The proportion, they change completely. What it looks great on a small sketch, in some cases, it looks not so nice on a full size. Then, when you make model, you lost in scale. So 110, 1/4, 1/3 to 5. So let's say traditional Italian, it was 110 scale, but then it's too small. Now, all car company is working in a scale, quarter scale, 1/4, because it's the best one when you want to work on it, because quarter scale is more or less is coming like between 60 to 90 centimeters, so you can work on that. And is the one giving the less distortion when you make it in full size. Because if you make a 10 scale model and multiply by 10, proportion, they're gone. So I have to fix it. In quarter scale is working more or less fine. Then the modeling, it could be like traditional. So clay model. Clay is a kind of plastiline, a little bit more hard. You put in the oven about 40 degrees more or less, and then you can put on top of the base. And then when it's cold in about 10 minutes, you can work on that, and it's quite easy. So on this way, so you see, you create sections, and then this one is the clay, and then you can work on a clay model, and you get quarter scale model. You have modelers, they are very, very, very high skills. And then otherwise you can go digital. In digital, the advantage is that digital could be like software like Alias or whatever. Digital, the advantage is that you can share your information with other departments, because you have a clay model. If you have a clay model, it's there. And then you cannot share too much. In here, you get your model, in this case, it's the Maserati. You can already send this one to the department engineer. They start to make pre-engineering. I will tell you, like, listen, if you make the door like this, it will never fit or will never come out from the mold. You can start to make analysis of the CFD, and also you can make virtual presentation. So what have you seen before as a tape drawing, in company now, they have a power wall or the project on the wall, really your model in full size. And in many cases, they project your model close to the competitors. So you see if it's better, if it's not, you need to improve. And also with virtual reality, you can really, especially for the interior, you can sit inside and try to see how this interior will feel. It will give you becoming claustrophobic, or becoming, I don't know, something like pleasant or not pleasant. Then here is the digital model. So the digital model, you get your model in here, you can make milling, and then you get your cut, but it's a physical model, but you get also a digital one. So that means you can share the information. Then normally, presentation is like something like this. So this one is Mercedes. Normally, it's difficult. It's one model, that's the one you do it. In many cases, you present different models. Say, okay, this one is like, it's nice, but we want to make a model, like taking, for example, this bonnet with this front, this A-pillar, this part in there. So you make kind of putting together, make sure it works. You modify your model, and then you make digital. You create what is called the clouds of point. So it could be done manually like this, or you can use a laser machine to make kind of photograph of your model in 3D. And then there are software dedicated to transform this information on CAD model that is really accurate. Normally, it's not designer doing this type of activity. It's what is called surface engineer, profilismo italiano, surface engineer in English. And here they get close to what is called Class A surfaces. Class A surfaces, they define the quality of the surface for the outside surfaces. It can also be done for the interior, more mainly done for interior. So that means how many hours these people spend to make your surface smooth as possible. But you can see very well this. For example, on the highway, normally there is a white line or yellow line on the side. Check the reflection of this line on the body. More the car is expensive, more the reflection is smooth. More the car is like, let's say, compact car like utility or whatever, but not so expensive, you see the reflection won't be so perfect. That's hour on that people spend in cleaning the surfaces. Then you make a milling again to get, finally, it can be done in clay or it can be done in applewood. Applewood is a kind of resin. The advantage between the two is like clay, you can still modify. Applewood is not so easy to modify, but the advantage is that applewood will survive forever. Clay, after some time, will start to crack, and so you won't survive too long. And you get, in here, you get what is called the master model. So master model is the model that you have that is the one that will go to production. It's not the production model, but it's the one that we use for production. The dimension of this one, you will never change. It should never change. Go into production, and there is always up and down some modification. The same process is done for the exterior and for the interior. So most of the case, you start with the exterior and then you make the interior. But it depends on the type of car. If you make powerful supercar, for sure you start from the exterior. But if you make like MPV or whatever, maybe you want to consider the people inside. So maybe you start to design the interior, then you move to exterior. What is important is that the interior and the exterior, they speak the same language. You don't want to sit in a car and when you look outside, it looks totally different. Like when you design the exterior, make sure the front looks like the same language of the back. Then you get coloring trim. Coloring trimming means everything is about material and color for your car. You get coloring trim for interior, that means textile, that means the color, for example, you're going to use the feeling you want to give. In here for steering wheel, for seat is amazing. You see making kind of dress for the seat, for the proposal, it's just amazing the work they do. Or we can make for exterior. So for example, this model you see here, they are not model going in production, but just shape with a lot of movement inside to see how this color will react in a different position. It's important. That maybe you have a beautiful color, but then, for example, when you go to negative, it doesn't look so well. In fact, then in here, for example, you see this panel. Normally in this panel, you see there is a shade inside. This one is going to put under the sun and to see the reaction of this color. Then you go to avant production, pre-production, and then let's say in this case, the designer is not involving so much unless there are some modifications to be done in the end. So you can make a working prototype. For example, this one, I don't know if you recognize, is the Puro Sangue, one of the first, one of the last tests on street with Puro Sangue, and they make with the camouflage like this in a way. In some cases, also they hide shape, they add fake intake or whatever to try to confuse. Consider that in some case, when you see photograph like this on a magazine, they are not very spy, but it's the company doing that just to create a bit of rumor about something else, something is coming, so to keep the attention high. You can make a crash test, you make tests in laboratory. This one is the test for the sound, that normally is working opposite. So in here, you're not testing the amount of sound coming inside the car. You make noise inside the car and check the amount of noise going outside from the car. And then you see if your car is silent or not. In some cars, they are very, very, very silent. Inside the Discovery is a little bit dangerous because they're so silent, so quiet. You don't hear any movement on the road. You don't realize the speed you're going. So it's becoming dangerous for the speed because you don't realize maybe you're going a little bit faster, but you don't realize because everything looks quiet, it's silent and so on. And then there is car show with presentation. In some case, in car show, you arrive with the pre-production, and then you see the reaction. In some case, like it was, for example, for the Beetle, the new Beetle, like it was presented as a show car, then people like it and decide to make it. Well, they had the idea to make it already before, but then you see the reaction of the public, and from there, then when it's going in production, the designer is not getting involved unless they're making something like graphic or whatever. And that's it, my point of view.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Claudio Fassini. There are a lot of questions here in the chat. So there are people asking you, which are the best universities where you can learn how to design cars?
Well, of course, you know, I'm teaching in Scuola Politecnica di Design. But I don't say, oh, it's a good university because I'm teaching there, but really the program is quite complete in there. It's complete. And I like that because we make 2 years and if you have already good skill, you can go direct to second year. If you are not ready enough, you can make first year. We drive you step by step, and we cover all the aspects of the design. And also, it's international. So you are in Milano. That means you get the environment of Milano, where you get fashion, design, you get many things happening in Milano with other international students. So it's this exchange. The teachers like me, they are like professionals.
Please. Thank you very much.
And so we don't have people just making teaching. Otherwise, you are out of the market. So let's say, I like it. Of course, maybe someone could say like I did the RCA in London, but because when you're young, you want to travel. Because might say, okay, I want to go out of it. I want to go out. I want to have some more experience, and it's good. When you are young, you go out to make experience, you see different way of living, and then you decide you can still going around or come back. At the end, I come back because I was fed up of traveling too much.
All right, thank you. There is a question repeated several times. Sabina is asking at least 3 times. I reading here. Can you explain why it's important the agronomy at time to design, please?
To understand the importance of
the agronomy at time to design, please.
The ergonomy, you mean?
Ergonomy, certainly, it would be the correct concept. Ergonomía es la ciencia que se adapta al estudio del cuerpo y las proporciones del cuerpo, de modo tal que un ser humano de buena proporción te quepa en un coche. Como está escrito, dice agronomy. No, pero dice, yes, no, dice, yes, it's that exactly. I want to know about the ergonomy. The ergonomy at time to design, no la agronomía. He's asking about the ergonomía.
The ergonomy absolutely is important because in the car you need to be comfortable and you need to be safe. If you could, I don't know if you ever tried to sit in the old Mini, you had the backrest arriving at the half of your back. Now you get the seat really arriving on top of your head with the headrest. So it's more comfort, it's more safe. And then also it's important to consider like who's using the car. For example, if it's a car like a city car, you want to be like going up and down from the car quite comfortable. So you need to design something quite high and you consider the shape of the body. Because for example, if you design something like supercar, it's not so easy to go in and out. So these are all the aspects that you must consider according to the use you want to do. And the car, they're not just designed anymore to be power and glory. So it means you look outside, it looks cool, but car now, they are designed also to be really for the people, the user now is becoming in the center of the design. And more or less something like this, it was started quite strong a few years ago from Giugiaro when he designed the Uno, the first Uno, but he really make the greenhouse, we call the greenhouse where you get the people inside with the air, with the glass, a bit bigger to get more space to the occupants. But that's why it's very important, because you must be comfortable and safe inside that.
All right. There is another question. Patricia Zeta is asking, from Pininfarina, Vignale, Ghia, Michelotti to the current designs, we could say that the romanticism in the automobile design has been modified. The fact of driving for pleasure is now only a necessity, or it depends on the perspective and personal taste. I think this is about all the very great designs in automobile next to the boxy designs that are the more common as the cars, the automobiles already out there. So how it is been developing?
Well, it's, let's say we get one great moment around 80s, more or less, when they start to say the car is designed by the wind, and they start to become all of that. Now, I think there is start to get in some companies, they start to get again movement to make something a little bit more exciting. Also consider that some of the old cars that were done in a small number, now it's done in a bigger number. So they must consider like what is called a world car. So it's true, in some cases it could become more exciting, and this, let's say, less artisan like before. That could be one of the challenges. For example, I was mentioned before, like for electric car, like why we don't make something like look more like totally different. Some company they start to do that, and not just to look like a normal car without combustion engine. But yeah, it's for example, Ferrari at the moment, going back to the original question, Ferrari at the moment, it developed a special design center just for one-to-one question. I mean, question like request special model, customize, not just customize the color, customize the shape to go back like it was the old, we call carrozzieri, Pininfarina, Michelotti, Giugiaro. I've been doing some work with Michelotti, the son of Michelotti, not the father.
All right, and maybe the last, because of the time, it's like two different questions, but it can be done in one single service. How much does the designer actually has to know about the production aspects of the car? Production means engineering, the possibilities of the mechanics, and how much of it has to be implied in the design process. And another one coming from Aldo Gomez, the first was for Ricardo Razo, the now from Aldo Gomez is, in your opinion, which is the most beautiful car ever made?
But that's very personal. Let's say engineering. Okay, you don't need to be an engineer, but you must know, because you must know like the thickness of the material you can make. You must know what is possible to be produced, what is possible to be molded. Then of course you get help from the engineering department, but you cannot simply sketch something and then say solve the problem. No, you must know the problem before how to solve it, because otherwise your process in design is becoming too long. And now they try to make shorter and shorter the design process in a way to leave more time for production and other stuff. So you must know something, you must know a little bit of aerodynamics, you must know a bit of molding, production, engineering, or whatever. My favorite car, Well, if I consider something like wherever it is, what I like, I need to go back, and I think the old Ferrari Testarossa, the 250 GTO, the old one. That I like it, but it's a personal opinion. I mean, it's keep in mind, you never design the car you like, but you design the car that people will like. If
Yes.
you design the car you like, probably you sell two of them, one to you and one to your family.
You will end with the Edsel.
With the?
Edsel, a 50s car made by General Motors that never
yes.
sell because it was so strange that nobody can buy it.
Yeah, yeah. They had also some other example from there, but whatever.
Okay, well, I think it was quite illuminating. Thank you very much, Claudio.
Okay.
Everybody says thank you for the conference. It was very interesting for all the people involved here. I want to thank you and certainly the institution that you represent, the Escuela Politécnica Design, about these concepts and this presentation. Y pues a toda la gente que nos está viendo, también muchísimas gracias. Entonces les recuerdo que ahorita va a aparecer el link actualizado para que se inscriban a la conferencia de las 3 de fábrica de United Colors of Benetton, que no se pudo hacer el día de ayer. Aquí saldrá el link. Y yo por mi parte les recuerdo dos cosas. Estamos en el penúltimo día del encuentro creativo de este año. Va a haber giveaways que van a estar apareciendo tanto en nuestras redes sociales como en nuestros canales. Entonces, de todos esos patrocinadores que siempre repito al final, pues ahí es donde van ustedes a entender por qué es importante seguirlos en sus redes. Entonces, eso por una parte. Y por otra, agradecerles su atención a todos los presentes. Muchísimas gracias una vez a Claudio Fassini, a la Embajada de Italia, a la Cámara de Comercio Italiana en México y a nuestros patrocinadores Natuzzi, Essilor Luxottica, Artemide Bulgari, Amoretti Brothers, Alfa Par, Ferrari, Davide Groppi, United Colors of Benetton, Yamamay, Seña, Fernet Branca, SMEG, Cartel, Ferrero y Orfe México. Y asimismo a las universidades involucradas, Instituto Politécnico Nacional, Tecno Monterrey, UNAM, FAD, Facultad de Artes y Diseños, el Instituto de Cormo, la Universidad Iberoamericana y a nuestros socios como son la Dante Alighieri, el FIDER y CLAS, y a las universidades italianas, todas las cuales hacen posible este encuentro. Yo les agradezco mucho su presencia, una vez más gracias, y nos veremos aquí en la siguiente sesión, que será a las 3 de la tarde, con ese link que tienen ahí de Benetton, y entonces ahí podrán ustedes entrar. Taburgo dice que no se registró, Sabina le contesta, te da tiempo rápido. Entonces vamos a acabar rápido la sesión para que no le dé tiempo. Muchísimas gracias a todos, arrivederci y hasta la próxima.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Rápido, rápido.